Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international best-selling book called We Don't Die: A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And just a reminder, my home base is wedon'tdie.com, where you can always find great things like classes, our free Sunday gathering with medium demonstration. And at the bottom of the page, if you enter your name and your email address, it says you get the first few chapters of my book. Secret is it's the entire book. Chapter 10 is How to Survive Grief. And I know this show brings many people that are experiencing grief right now. So I want to give you everything I've got. Plus, there's some other free goodies there for you as well. Our guest today is Christi Clemons Hoffman, a lifelong intuitive teacher, healer, and host of the long running podcast called Radiate Wellness. She is co author of the book, The Gap: Simple Steps to Reclaim Your Health and Reverse Most Chronic Diseases, and is a certified level 3 practitioner of Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique. But she's also passionate about angels and hosts another podcast called Real Life Angel Encounters and has a brand new book called Real Life Angel Encounters. Real people share real stories of miraculous encounters. She sounds like just our kind of person. You can find out more about her on her website, radiatewellnesscommunity.com. Christy, new friend, welcome to We Don't Die.
I am so happy to be here, Sandra. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I was excited to find out about you and your book, and you're just like our kind of person. So, if you wouldn't mind, just let people know where in the world you are right now and a little bit about your backstory, because I love that the healing and hypnosis is all tied in.
hmm Well, I'm based in the Kansas City area. My office is on the Kansas side in Prairie Village, and I live on the Missouri side, which to some people outside of this area seems a little strange that it's a city divided, but here we are. I have been working with clients, talking to their angels and their loved ones since 2010. And I'm a lifelong intuitive. I'm also a Reiki master and use angels in my Reiki, or they join me, I should say, in my Reiki practice. And then I'm a QHHT practitioner, level 3 QHHT practitioner. I've been doing that since 2015, and I'm at level 3. So, I mean, that's a little bit about what I do and what I offer. I call it readings, Reiki, and regression.
Oh, I love it. Pre 2010,
Yeah.
were you a believer in all this? Did you have another career and something happened, or did it just kind of organically
Yeah.
grow into what you're doing now?
Well, pre-2010, I had a variety of things I was doing. In fact, all the way up until 2015, I was a corporate person. Now, I'd also had a career being a college professor, and I've got a master's in English. I'd worked in public relations, I worked in publishing, and I worked at Hallmark International Headquarters, which is based here in Kansas City. And I've always been interested in these type of things in this realm. I grew up knowing things, I'm seeing things. I saw my first ghost when I was just a baby and always interested in this stuff. And then like around 2009, the bottom dropped out of my life. My husband decided to leave the family, and I was searching for meaning and searched karma, past lives, soulmate, etc., and found Dolores Cannon. And Dolores Cannon was a famed metaphysician in Arkansas. I tried to have a session with Dolores because I thought, well, that would answer so many of my questions. And it turns out she was booked up for 4 years. I didn't know she was that big of a deal. But I was told that she had just started teaching her method. And I found somebody here in town. I talked to my husband into going to have a session as well. And neither one of us got very far with it, if I'm being honest. And this practitioner said, well, that doesn't happen very often, but I do have someone I can refer you to, and she can give you some answers. This was somebody who does angel readings. I had never really heard of such a thing. I'd had a reading the first time I went to Switzerland and was very impressed, but I really didn't know much about it. And I went to her and I had a wonderful reading. And I sent my friends to her. They had wonderful readings as well. Well, she started teaching classes, and I took all the classes she was teaching, and I learned how to use my gifts and learned to channel them and harness them and use them with people, because I didn't know anything about the intuitive realm. I knew that I saw things other people didn't see, and I knew I was interested in things people didn't typically show interest in. So then I learned what to do with it. And I started working with clients pretty much right away, and then added on Reiki because I was starting to meet so many energy healers, and I had no idea what energy healing was, but I embarked on that, and then added on QHHT. But in 2015, I got laid off from Hallmark with about 1,000 other people. They had huge layoffs. And I knew then I didn't want to do another corporate job. And luckily, they were teaching, or they were giving entrepreneurship classes for their laid off employees. And I knew I wanted to start a business. So I started Radiate Wellness. And there were some other practitioners that I had met along the way that they joined along. And we started this group practice in, well, it was actually 2016 when the company was launched. So that's what I've been up to in a nutshell.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Radiate Wellness, and then we'll get
Sure.
into angels and afterlife and all that. Because I don't know about QHHT. Am I saying that right?
You are saying that right.
Hypnosis. I know just a little bit about Dolores Cannon, but are these like regressions? Is it how does one work with that? Because I know you've co-authored a book that's a big passion of yours also.
It's a big passion of mine. Well, the book that I co-authored is The Gap, and it basically outlines simple things that we can do to reclaim our health with faced with chronic disease. My chapter in that book is about energy in the body. And energy in the body is stored trauma, it's stored emotion. Over time, these things can wreak havoc on our systems and create disease and even create injury. So that is the basis of the all of the work that I do, is understanding the trauma and emotion in the body and using techniques to release it, to clear it, to reset our energy system. Even in QHHT, we find out what is being held within the body. Let me back up just a little bit. QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, is a very intensive form of hypnosis. And with it, we can unlock important cues and clues from other lifetimes. Past lives, yes, but also in between lives, future lives, and even concurrent lives, which gets a little strange when we think about it. So we discover what we're holding on to from other lifetimes. We can even go into the current lifetime, back to trauma that we had experienced, just to understand it and get a different perspective on it. Then with QHHT, we can also tap into your higher self and speak directly with your soul, finding out answers to questions we may have held for a long time. People can come in with maybe 12 to 15 questions. Things like, what is my purpose? What are my next steps? Why do I keep having the same issues in relationships? So many things that we can find out with QHHT. It's a very comprehensive type of practice. Now, I also offer introspective hypnosis. Introspective has some similarities, and it helps us also uncover trauma and buried emotion within the body. Also helps us with deep forgiveness work, and that I can do online. But QHHT has to be done in person. And then I'm also a board certified clinical hypnotherapist as well.
Wow, up to a lot. Sounds very powerful. And I know from my past endeavors in researching and also got certified in hypnosis back in the day that
Yeah.
we don't need to believe it for it to work, that we are so powerful as souls having a human experience. And it's a wonderful thing. So, though I don't know about that technique, I do know there's a lot of power in it. So, let's shift now to the world of angels if we can.
Yes.
My audience are a lot of people here. Of course, we're looking for evidence of the afterlife. Angels is something we don't typically talk about because in a reading, like you go for a medium reading, you get evidence about your loved ones, while angels and guides all are a world that I believe in. I don't talk about it too much. So are we talking angels with wings? Are we talking earth angels? Are we talking spirit guides that might come in out of the blue? Are we talking our loved ones that give us messages? Is it that whole world? Share with us what angels are and maybe some stories.
Absolutely. Well, all of the above to answer your question. So the podcast features real people telling their real stories. These can be synchronicities. These can be a good Samaritan shows up out of the blue and then disappears. It can be actual angels showing up. It could be loved ones. It can be dream visits. There's quite the gamut. And then a sampling of those stories is in the book, Real Life Angel Encounters. Real people share real stories of miraculous encounters. So it is a little bit of everything. So you had asked for some stories. So a story that I read at a reading last night is from a truck driver in the UK. And he had gotten up to go to work and he was just tears were streaming down his face. He had had a dream that there was something he was supposed to remember, but he couldn't remember what it was. And all of a sudden, tears were just streaming down his face, and he didn't know why. He picked up his brother because they did this job. They were delivery drivers. They would deliver refrigerators and stoves and things like that. And picked up his brother, and his brother said, What's wrong? He says, I have no idea. I can't stop these tears coming down my face. Are you feeling sad? He says, Well, I feel like I had a dream last night where I was supposed to remember something, but I couldn't remember. And I had a feeling that there was a funeral, but I didn't know whose. And so I don't know what's going on. They ran through all of the questions, couldn't figure this out. Get to their first delivery, get out of the truck, and the tears stopped. Got back in the truck, the tears started again. And the brother said, Okay, is there something in this cab you're allergic to? Did you put a new air freshener? Maybe you tried a new shampoo? No, nothing. I don't know what's going on. Then they're approaching this highway to make their next delivery. It's a pretty windy road in Scotland, very narrow, lots of twists and turns, and there are a few shoulders off to the side. The tears are just streaming down his face. He can't see. And he pulls over to a shoulder on the side of the road, calls their equivalent of AAA. AAA comes out, they inspect the whole car and everything and find that the steering wheel's held on by one lug nut, just finger tight. That if they had tried to take one of those curves, they would have been dead. So he chalks it up to an angel saving their lives that day. He can't explain it. Did an angel show up? Did a being show up? No, but they sent him this condition that made him need to pull over and take a break. So that's one of the stories. Yeah, very interesting. Another one of my favorite stories is Colleen. She had gone on vacation with her family, and the husband likes to leave on trips at dark 30. So they leave vacation and they're coming back, and it is pitch dark. And on this vacation, she says that she was trying to find a pair of bib overalls somewhere. She wanted to buy a pair of bib overalls, like farmers wear. So they are driving home. She had struck out, by the way, didn't find anything. They're on their way home. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. They stop at a convenience store to grab some coffee, get some gas. And she notices that she's feeling kind of crampy and like she's getting her period. And she goes into the bathroom, and there is blood everywhere, splashing on the floor, just an abnormal amount. And she thinks, oh, there's something wrong. This is not right. And she hears a voice. This woman says, are you okay in there? And she thought, there was nobody in here. The bathroom was nice and clean. There were two stalls. She didn't see anybody. She didn't hear anybody come in. Who is this? She says, it's okay. I'm all right. I'm just going to go to my car and I'm going to grab some clothes and I'll be back and I'll clean all this up. And this other woman says, oh, don't worry. I'll clean it up. And the Colleen says, oh my gosh, no, that's all right. Because she knew you do not touch another person's blood. And this other woman said, I used to work in a girls' dormitory. Believe me, I've seen everything. It's all right. Colleen comes out of the stall to go to her car and she says, seriously, no, I'll be right back. I'll take care of this. She looks at this woman. She's tall, like unusually tall for a woman. She has this beautiful golden tan skin, gorgeous, stunning woman. Her long platinum hair is in braids and pinned up on top of her head. And she's wearing bib overalls, just like the kind that she had been looking for. She goes to her car, comes right back, and the bathroom's spotless. She looks in the trash can. There's nothing in the trash can, and the woman is gone. So she gets herself sorted out, changes her clothes, comes out. Her husband's there with 2 cups of coffee for her. She said, "So, did you see where that woman went?" "What woman?" She said, "There was a woman in the bathroom." "I didn't see anything." She asked the attendant at the convenience store, "Where did that woman go?" He says, "There was nobody else in here, just you and your husband." So where did this lady go, and who was she? Did she have wings? No. But there was something definitely unusual about her. And she disappeared as quickly as she appeared. Now, Colleen, the caller, said she thinks she might be some sort of guardian angel over women, specifically women who might be having a miscarriage or something. And she thought maybe she was having an early miscarriage. And there is a story of my friend Caitlin who passed after her 4th round of cancer, and she was living in Scotland at the time. So I was waiting for word of her passing. And I was at the garden store loading up my car, and she popped into my head. She said, "Wanted to let you know that I broke up with my body." She said, "I didn't go anywhere. I just broke up with my body. Once I realized that I could, it was ridiculously easy to do so." And so I think that's pretty good summation of what happens when we pass. We just break up with the body.
You gave me
Yeah.
goosebumps. Don't you have a story about your Aunt Mary Jane?
Yes. So my Aunt Mary Jane, she had come home from my grandma's funeral. And it was a long trip. She lives in Geneva, Switzerland, and she was very tired. And so her schedule is off because she's on a different time zone, and she's up in the middle of the night, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And she goes out to the courtyard at my mom's house where she was staying. And my grandma came to her and said, "I just want you to know I'm okay. I made it. And you can tell everybody I'm all right." And my aunt said she was the happiest person at the funeral because she knew that her mom was okay.
And our loved ones can be those angels. I
They sure can.
love
Oh,
it. I've interviewed so many people, Christy, that have had near-death experiences, and there's somebody who saves them that they see. And then when they come back, there was nobody. Even my grandfather had a story of drowning, and someone picked him out of the water and put him on the beach. He was there alone, you know.
yeah.
Oh, I've got goosebumps right now with
Right?
the stories. How
Mhm.
about signs from our loved ones? Because I know I'm partial to bluebirds because I've had my own bluebird sign, but I know I've read that in your book too.
That is absolutely right. And the book tells it much better than I can. So everybody's going to have to read the book to get the better version of it. But the nickel version of it is that Angela's sister had passed quite unexpectedly. And she was wanting to receive a message from her sister. And she had heard somewhere that you need to ask specifically, like for a specific sign. So she said, "Okay, I want a bluebird." Yes, it was wintertime, and yes, we are in Kansas, and they're not typically native at that time of year. And she said, "That's the sign that I want." She knew it had to be something identifiable. So she's driving out to her other home in Parsons, Kansas, which is maybe an hour and a half away from Kansas City. And a friend had sent her a CD of her favorite singer, Howard Jones. And she's listening to this CD. Nobody listens to CDs anymore, right? But she's listening to this CD that was gifted. And there's a song on it that is not in his usual repertoire. This was a concert CD. So, not necessarily all of his best hits or greatest hits, but there was a song on there that she had not heard him do before. And a line in the song is, "Like the bluebird, I'm free." And she knew right then that was her sign. She just knew it. Just like we know these things. We know, oh, there's a cardinal. Oh, that's mom. there's a dragonfly. Oh, that's got to be dad. We just know these things. And there were some other details in the song that hinted at how her sister had died. And she knew that this was a message. And the kicker is that that wasn't even a Howard Jones song. He was covering a David Bowie piece, Lazarus, about David Bowie's death. So it was such a synchronicity. She knew right then it was a sign from her sister.
We have to pay attention. I'll just tell you my bluebird story, make it quick.
Please.
Anybody who knows me, I've turned into a crazy old bird lady. During COVID, of course, we're housebound. I put out a few bird feeders. Now there's like 8 of them outside. Never once have I seen a bluebird in 4 years. Okay, I interview this lady. She's somewhere out west, and she asked her son in spirit for a bluebird. She says, there's no bluebirds around here. All of a sudden, bluebirds started showing up for her. And that was the sign that her son was around in an area where there are no bluebirds. Okay, love it. So I edit the interview and I air it. The day I aired it, 12 bluebirds came to my yard and just stayed feeding at the bird feeders. And then they were gone. Was it a fluke? Maybe. But I say it was something else, like the son saying, thank you for sharing my mom's story. It was sweet. So bluebirds to me are just a little extra special. I get hummingbirds, I get tons of cardinals. There's so many that I can't call them signs, but something out of the blue like that. And I was interviewing a woman too who said that her signal with her friend was, show me a hummingbird, show me a hummingbird. And it was so sweet because as I have a window right behind where I'm looking at the camera. As I was interviewing her, one hummingbird just stayed hovering into the window, just looking in. And I thought, okay, all right. Yeah,
Isn't that funny?
special.
So I was doing a Reiki session on a little girl. She was maybe 8 or 9 at the time. And her father had passed when she was 4. And I have a sliding glass door here at my office, and there's a beautiful pond outside, and I've got a hummingbird feeder. And I had opened the door because it was a gorgeous day. Here comes this hummingbird right at the open door, hovered there for minutes, right at the threshold of this open patio door. And I knew her dad's name. In fact, there's a story of her dad in Real Life Angel Encounters in the book. And so this little hummingbird was right there. And I said, Tony, is that you? And her mom was there too. And we all agreed that this was a sign from the dad. And then the hummingbird flew away.
There's some great stories out there. And of course, we need to use our common sense. A lot of people think a feather's got to be a sign. Well, like I said, we've got a lot of wildlife here and coyotes and things. So a pile of feathers doesn't necessarily mean something, but it could be. One mom that I talked to asked her son for a white feather as a sign. She was traveling, she checked her bag, and when she got to her destination and opened her suitcase, there was a big white feather right on the top of her clothes.
Oh
How do
my
you explain that, right?
gosh.
Yeah, so
Great.
I get the benefit of hearing these stories. So talking about angels, my personal belief is we have loved ones, they're still with us, they're still part of our lives, that we have guides, angelic beings. I don't get into too much, but why not, right? There's people that support us. Can we ask them for help? Do they intervene? Obviously, we know in emergencies they can. Do we have free will and they don't come in unless we need them? How can we work with our angels and loved ones on the other side?
Right. Well, we do have free will, and we need to be able to express our free will. So our angels and our team they're not going to interfere in our lives. The only exception is if it's not our time to go or not our time to pass, and we're in a dangerous situation, they can come in and save the day. But otherwise, they really don't. However, they will come in and influence. They'll nudge us. They'll suggest. In the story, in the book, there's a story of Sherry who's driving on a dark highway at night, and she hears in her voice, "Move to the left now." She's like, "What?" Her dad always told her, "Stay in the right lane of the highway. Move to the left now." she did, and she avoided a bicyclist coming the other way that she would have hit and killed. So they can do that. Apparently, it was not the bicyclist's time to die. And what he was doing at night on a bicycle in the dark was, who knows, without lights or anything. But they can swoop in like that. They can nudge us. They can put us in the right place at the right time. There's a story of a very busy mom who stops by the Walmart on her way to a meeting and happens to be the angel for this woman in the Walmart aisle. This woman was grieving over the loss of her husband and needed some help. And this Erin, her name is Erin, and she showed up at the right time, at the right place for this woman. And she said there was no place else she needed to be right then. So our angels work with us in so many ways. They can put us in the right place at the right time. They can nudge us. They can suggest to us. We can be thinking of our loved ones and turn on the radio, and there's their favorite song. So many ways that they can show up for us, and they want to make their presence known, which is why I wrote the book.
It's beautiful. Thank you. I want to ask our listeners and our viewers, if you're, say, watching this interview on YouTube right now, you can type in the comments. I would love to know if you, well, I think we all have had special experiences, but what they are, that you've had a loved one or a guide or an angel or a thought. For me, two things come to mind. I was on a airplane, Christy, and I had just written my book, and I was so afraid to tell people the title because I didn't want people to think I was a weirdo, in that afterlife world. There's a
Yeah.
lot of fear coming out kind of about this. And I'm sitting on an airplane, sitting next to this very professional woman. And this voice in my head said, "Tell her about the book." And I thought, there's no way I'm telling this lady about my book. She's going to think I'm crazy. Plus, some people don't want to be talked to during a flight. I'd said hello, and then she went right back to her book. The voice in my head, "Tell her about the book," right? Stop. And I had to pay attention. And so we got into the conversation. Where are you traveling to, business or pleasure? What do you do for work? And she told me. And then the natural response for her to say, "So what do you do?" I said, "Oh, I'm an author. I wrote a book." "What did you write?" And she was coming from a funeral. She was putting on a happy face, but she had hit rock bottom. So I
Mm.
always travel with a copy of my book and gave it to her. And just the difference that we spent 3 hours on a flight, so that was one thing. And then another time that somebody spoke very, very, very loudly is in an old house I had. Our basement started flooding, filling with water. And I was living with my aunt, and there must have been 4 feet of water in there. And the
Mm.
and the water just kept coming in. And we have a sub pump, but it wasn't working. I couldn't get it to work. And I go to bed thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to call the fire department in the morning. I don't know what to do. My aunt was traveling, and I was just panicked. And that voice wouldn't let me go to bed. It says, "Sandra, you can fix it. Sandra, you can fix it." And I
Oh.
thought it's just my subconscious mind, right? And I said, "No, I've tried. I can't fix it." "Sandra, you can fix it." So I went down. I waded through this ice cold water, and it was over waist deep. And I started playing around with it. And all of a sudden it kicked in and turned on and, pumped everything out. But I have only a couple times in my life have I heard a voice that loud that wouldn't let go. So
Oh.
I call that an angelic encounter for sure.
Oh, I do too.
So, yeah, we all have those looking out for us on the other side.
Yeah, we do. This reminds me of a story. Had done a reading for this woman who was in heavy grief. Her mother had passed after a brief battle with cancer, and they were very close. So this woman, young woman, was very she was just beside herself. And I connected with her mom, and her mom said, "Yes, I had to leave very abruptly. There's a new family member coming that I needed to make the way for." And she said, "By the way, this is really wonderful being on the other side like this. I can be with my daughter in Shawnee, Kansas. I can be with my daughter in Washington, D.C., and I can be with the rest of the family in Mexico all at the same time." Isn't it amazing? So maybe right around a year later after this reading, this mom who incidentally had become one of my guides because she was really good at getting people for me to talk to from the other side. But this mom was waking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. She'd wake me up and say, my daughter needs to take vitamins. Tell her. And I thought, that's weird. That's crazy. Next night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, my daughter needs to take vitamins. Please tell her. And this went on for maybe a week. And I thought, okay, this is crazy. I've got to do something. So I called the client and I said, this is going to sound insane, but your mom will not leave me alone. She wants you to take vitamins. And she said, well, that's strange. My husband and I are deciding to start a family. And we decided that the first thing that we would do is I would start to take prenatal vitamins. And then mom could leave me alone after that because I delivered the message.
And
You can't make this
you
up.
can't. And I know I just went through your book, didn't read the whole thing, but I found some different chapters. And one was the promise of strength. A woman named Sally. You want to talk about that? Being in the hospital where her
Yeah.
husband
Yeah.
was going through a tough
Sally's,
time.
yes, Sally's husband. And Sally's story is not just one story, it was several stories altogether. But where she would be given strength, her husband had been diagnosed with cancer, and it was taking him pretty quickly. She was in the hospital chapel, and they hadn't quite told everybody in the family yet that he was sick because they didn't really know the prognosis, but she was scared. And she had an angelic visit, and they said, you will be given strength when you need it. And she was. She always remembered that. And whenever she felt like she needed strength, she knew she could call on these angels to support her. And there's another story in the podcast that didn't make it to the book, but another woman, Kathy, was in her kitchen making a tuna salad sandwich, and three angels came in, stood behind her. She said they were ginormous and had wings and halos and all the whole thing. And they told her the same thing. You're going to have strength when you need it. Our team is with us. They want us to know that they are, and that we will have the resources and the strength that we'll need when we need it.
Yeah. And I know people say God doesn't give you anything you can't handle or something like that, but life can get really awful. And there's some people that have had some horrific, horrific things happen. And I
Yeah.
know that there is the unseen world working with us, but we also have people in life that would like nothing more than to be of help. So if anybody needs any help or assistance, please ask. I'm somebody who loves Christmas, not because I love getting gifts, but I love giving them. I love surprises. I love making a difference. And even if we don't know what to do, we can say to somebody who may be grieving or having a tough time, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, but I'm here for you. You let me know. And we need that support. We need earth angels as well.
We do. We really do. And we can be anybody's angel. You think about, well, I think about Erin, who told the story of going to Walmart. She was running behind. She had to go to a meeting, and she had no business stopping there, but she was working on a fundraiser for her kids' school and was going to pick up some things for the fundraiser, and was going to run in, run out, and ran into this widow who was shopping for items to make a centerpiece for Thanksgiving dinner, being the first Thanksgiving without her husband. And they got to talking, and Erin was very supportive of this woman and was very kind. And this lady said, you are my angel. Literally, she said, you are my angel. So we can be that for anybody. We can, and Erin said that she just knew there was no place else she was supposed to be. So we just need to keep our eyes and ears open and help out where we can.
Christy, do you think we need to have a belief in this for angels to be part of our life if we're an atheist, say, or a total skeptic? We could just be chalking all this up to coincidences.
Right. Now, there's a quote in my book. I don't remember off the top of my head who said it, but we can look at things one of two ways. One, as if everything is a miracle, and one, as if nothing is a miracle.
That could be Albert Einstein. He said something similar to that.
That's what I thought. But it wasn't. I want to say it was a famed geologist, which is crazy, but the quote still stands that we can look at things as I showed up for this woman in the Walmart aisle and she thought I was her angel. That could be a miracle, or we could think it's not a miracle. We could think of someone showing up on the side of the road to help us right when we need it. That's a miracle or it's not a miracle. But to answer your question, I don't think we need to believe specifically in the angelic, but I do think that it helps because when these things happen, we can, again, we can think of this as a synchronicity. This is something that's showing up for me, or, that's a coincidence. And I don't believe in coincidences, honestly, because I think that there are so many synchronicities that we just need to pay attention to. And that when we have something miraculous showing up in our lives, why not think of it as a visit or assistance or guidance?
My dad had a quote he loved to say, coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. And I love that. He might have stolen it for somebody else, but I love that. And I know I've talked to some great people that, like Dr. Eben Alexander and other medically minded people. The
Right.
true diehard skeptics are never going to believe in anything, right? And we shouldn't try to change people. People have their beliefs. It's only a matter of time, I think, before we start questioning what else is there, right? I think that's just a natural part of life. But if we want to be open and just play with it, why not? And have that communication. I spoke with a mom yesterday whose son is in the spirit world, and she just decided to start playing and listening to the thoughts coming into her mind that seemed to be coming out of nowhere, trusting that's him, keeping a journal, writing to him, letting her hand write back as if it was him. And there's specifics that have come through that she couldn't have possibly known. So just be open. And when we're living in this planet Earth, which is live in an ever expanding universe, scientists can't explain that, right? Scientists can't explain how down to our tiniest bit, all we are is invisible vibrating energy. And whether it was Einstein or the geologist who said it, we look around, this is a miracle. You look outside, you got rocks and water and trees and earth and stuff, and everything around us is somehow made from these basic elements of earth. Miracle. So I think all that just kind of opens us up to there's more to life that meets the eye and more to us than we know.
Exactly. I mean, it's a miracle that anybody is born. All of the things that have to come together perfectly for someone to get pregnant and then for everything to go well and then the birth to go well. It's a miracle that anybody is here.
So challenge our beliefs. I think that's really good. And if somebody is grieving
Yeah.
and our heart goes to you, energy cannot be destroyed. I've given my life to this topic, and I know you have as well, to get
Yeah.
it out as far as we possibly can.
Now, I do teach a class called Love Never Dies, and it helps us understand how that works when we do pass. That, like you said, energy does not energy cannot be destroyed. Energy is always there, and our loved ones are always there. And in this class, we talk about having a higher vibration so that we can meet our loved ones halfway. That when we are in deep, deep, deep grief, it's difficult for them to come to us. We need to let our mind be still. We need to be receptive and we need to be open to their communication. I think it really does help. There are so many people who say that their loved ones visit them right after they've passed to say, "Hey, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me."
And trust, really trust those messages of love that come through. I believe it's them. I think we each have a subconscious mind. We can have negative dreams and nightmares and stuff. Our loved ones don't work that way. It's in those really profound dreams that we remember and the dreams of love. Let's talk about your website, radiatewellnesscommunity.com. I know it's not just you, but you just mentioned a class. What can we find about you? How can we find your books, the podcasts? What services do you offer? If you want to just brag about yourself just for a moment, because there are people that I know your words make a difference for.
Thank you. Thank you. Radiate Wellness Community is a community of holistic practitioners. We've got 4 practitioners with us. There's myself. Like I said, I do readings, Reiki, and regression. And then there's Jen Watts, who's a transformational body coach. She helps women through menopause and perimenopause to understand the changes that are going on with their bodies, and helps them just to meet some of those challenges. There's Heather Cotton, who is an energy healer. She is phenomenal, great energy worker. And then there's Mary Jane Stodenman, my Aunt Mary Jane that you mentioned. She's an astrologer and tarot reader, and she's based in Switzerland. And on our website, you can find out about all of our practitioners and then all of the services that we offer, everything from astrology to Reiki and everything in between. You can schedule an appointment with any of us. There's information about classes that we're teaching. I've got an upcoming opening to channel class to understand how to connect with our higher self. And there's other classes that we have coming up as well. You can listen to the podcast, both podcasts, as a matter of fact, the Radiate Wellness podcast. And I've interviewed Dr. Eben Alexander too, as well as Dr. Raymond Moody and other near-death experiencers. Near-death experiences show up in Real Life Angel Encounters, the book, as well. And then you can also listen to the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast there. Plus, anywhere you get your podcasts. And all of the interviews that I've been doing with folks like you are on the website as well. Basically, it's a one-stop shop. You can also get the book, Real Life Angel Encounters, The Gap, that I co-wrote, and Desire and Design by our resident astrologer, Mary Jane. It's about our Venus and Mars. You can download meditations. I've got several meditations, including a loved one meditation that helps put us in touch with one of our loved ones and to connect with them and receive insight and guidance from them, which I think is very helpful.
That's all so special. RadiateWellnessCommunity.com. And for those of you listening or watching on YouTube, I'll have live links to those things in the description. Christy, any closing words before we wrap it up for today?
So, Sandra, the reason why I started the podcast and the reason why I wrote the book, Real Life Angel Encounters, is to let everybody know that 1, we're not alone. We're never alone. We're never, any of us. And then 2, there's so much more to us than we think there is.
Perfect words. You are definitely a soul sister. And I'm so grateful to have met you today. Christy, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's been so much fun.
I know time has flown by telling stories, and that just goes to show we all need a community of people that we can talk to. There's plenty of people out there that might give us a strange look when we talk about angels or deceased loved ones or mediums or those kind of things. But we have a community of over 7,000 people, even in my Facebook group. My website, again, is wedon'tdie.com. Just play around with the buttons there. And then we offer a free Sunday gathering. It is an inspirational service, non-denominational, on Zoom, 2:00 every Sunday. And the last half of it is a medium demonstration. So we get loved ones from all over the world stopping by to say hello, giving us all evidence that we are still around. And as a reminder, Christy's website is radiatewellnesscommunity.com. So, my friends, above and beyond anything else, your time is very precious, and I want to thank you for giving it to Christy and I today. I'm Sandra Champlain. I do believe with all my heart that life is an education for the soul, that your life here on earth is important, that life is a miracle. It is a big, big, big deal. So be open. There's more to life than meets the eye, than more to you than you know. This whole world of angels and guides and loved ones, very, very real. So put yourself out there, talk to them, keep a little journal, see what comes, pay attention to what's happening, be in the present moment. And you may be surprised at the synchronicities, coincidences, and angel encounters that come your way. So I really want to thank you for listening or for watching, and we'll see you again soon.